Now, this next little story here, it's a true one, and you can certainly share it with your friends. It happened in a little rural town in Tennessee. A bus pastor was making his rounds one early Saturday afternoon in what was known as the poor community. There was a small, rough-looking house there that he realized he'd never approached before. So he stopped the bus and walked up on the porch to the front door. After knocking, a young boy about 9 years old answered. The preacher man asked the boy if his parents were home. The boy told him no, that they leave him and his younger brother to fend for themselves every single weekend and drive off somewhere. Well, the preacher was astonished by this and even asked the boy to repeat it. Sure enough, he repeated exactly what he had just told him. The parents left them every weekend all alone in that rickety old house. So the preacher asked if he could come in and have a little talk with the boy. They walked into the living room, where there was a raggedy-looking couch with foam and springs bursting through it. Not much else in the way of furniture in there, the pastor noticed. The preacher asked where the boy went to church. The boy replied that he'd never been to a church. Never in his whole life, he said. The pastor was surprised by this, especially since his church is only 3 miles down the road from this house. So the pastor asked him if he had ever heard of the greatest love story ever told, and proceeded to tell the youngster of the gospel of Jesus. When he finished, the young boy's heart was full of joy and happiness. The preacher then asked him if he wanted a free gift from God. "You bet," shouted the excited young boy. So both of them got on their knees, and the boy invited Jesus into his heart, receiving the gift of salvation. Before leaving, the pastor asked the boy if he could pick him and his brother up the next morning for church. The boy was happy to agree. The next morning, when the bus pulled up, the preacher noticed there were no lights on. So he knocked on the door, and when there was no answer, he quietly opened it and walked through the house until he found the boy's bedroom. The boy was fast asleep, so the pastor gently woke him up. In a short time, the boy and his brother were dressed, and they all got into the bus. The pastor gave a donut to each of the boys for breakfast. Once inside the church, the boy was fascinated. It was so big with so many things he'd never seen before. He felt so out of place, but at the same time, he felt like he belonged. He then noticed these big tall guys in suits taking these round wooden plates and passing them through all the rows of the church. He noticed people were dropping in money, and suddenly he realized they were giving money to Jesus. So he searched his pockets for any money he could have in them. They were empty. When the plate got to him, he held it for a minute before releasing it to the next person. He felt bad. He felt empty. He really wanted to give Jesus something. He kept his eyes on that plate, being passed from person to person, giving whatever amount they could. By the time the plate reached the back of the church, he had an idea. He quickly jumped to his feet and ran to the back of the church. He tugged on the suit jacket of one of those tall men and asked if he could hold the plate just one more time. The man looked confused, but when the plate returned to him, he handed it down to the young boy. The boy set the plate down on the carpeted church floor, stepped inside it, lifted his head toward the heavens, and said, "Jesus, I don't have anything to give you today, but just me. I give you me." Sometimes it takes the words of a youngster to make a world of sense, or to make sense of the world. Please like, comment, and share. Join us and change lives. Pleased to have you around. Blessed we are to get connected with you.